it's hard to understand fully all of the fears and the concerns that some of my friends have shared with me that have stopped them from coming forward.
Hawaii Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, who, of course, is running in the Democratic primary for 2020, was on a CNN town hall at South by Southwest. Now, I thought Tulsi Gabbard did a fantastic job the entire time during this town hall, but I want to highlight this clip in particular. So this is about sexual assault in the military, and I thought Tulsi Gabbard just gave a fantastic, heartfelt response. Watch.
I want to go now. Our next question comes from Joy Craig, a retired U.S. Marine officer who fights against sexual assault in the military.
Thank you very much. Aloha,
Thank you for your
Congresswoman.
service.
Thank you for yours. As one woman officer to another, I'd like to know what you would like to do to stop sexual assault in the military. And as Commander-in-Chief, will you commit to signing the Military Justice Improvement Act should it come across your desk?
Yes. Thank you. I led the introduction of the Military and Justice Improvement Act in the House of Representatives, so absolutely I would sign it into law as your President and Commander-in-Chief. As a fellow service member, we have lived through experiences ourselves and things that our fellow brothers and sisters in uniform have gone through. I have sat through hearings and engaged with leaders from the Department of Defense in my role as a member of the Armed Services Committee, where unfortunately there is a lack of recognition of the serious change that needs to take place for there to be a true path for justice for victims of sexual assault in the military. I believe that we still today don't know how rampant sexual assault in the military is, because there is still a fear of retaliation, there is a stigma, and people who don't want to be known as that one. She or he is that one who went against the team, who turned their back. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And we know people ourselves who have gone through this and felt like they had no place to turn. So this legislation is so important because it provides that path outside of the chain of command where you know that there is no one, whether it's your team leader or platoon leader or your first sergeant or your commander, there is no one who will be able to stop your pursuit of justice and accountability if you're a victim of assault in the military. This is such an important issue. Thank you for raising it. It's one that I'm going to continue to fight for. Thank you.
What a fantastic response, and just the general interaction there. So, look, it's incredibly rare. I don't think I've ever teared up watching a town hall before, but I did tear up watching that clip for the first time, because this is a serious issue, and it's one that very few politicians have the ability to really speak to with any sort of experience. So Tulsi Gabbard, being a veteran and being a woman who has at least known people who's gone through this, she's able to speak to an issue that other candidates just can't speak to. And this, again, shows you why diversity is so important in these sorts of conversations. So even if you have certain favorites for 2020, and I know I do, it doesn't mean that you can't acknowledge that other candidates are able to offer something incredibly important to the conversation and be able to share their experiences and their point of view, their perspectives, to be able to inform better policy on a variety of issues. Now, I want to go a little more into this Military Justice Improvement Act, just to give you an idea of sort of what it does. So the Military Justice Improvement Act was introduced in the U.S. Senate in 2013. If passed into law, it would significantly change the way the military tries its service members for criminal offenses. Specifically, it would require an officer outside of the alleged victim's chain of command to determine whether the accused should be court-martialed for certain serious crimes, such as sexual assault. Now, of course, sexual assault in the military is a huge issue that is underreported. So recently, Senator Martha McSally came out saying she has never thought about reporting alleged rape while in the Air Force. So Martha McSally just recently, last week, came out with her experience of rape in the military. And again, it shows you how underreported these situations are. And it starts at the very beginning with the military academies. So despite prevention programs, sexual assaults rise at military academies. Cadets and midshipmen at the Army, Navy, and Air Force academies formally reported 117 sexual assaults in the 2017-18 school year, up slightly from the 112 a year earlier. The number has mostly been trending upward over the past decade. But what really grabbed attention was a separate anonymous survey the Pentagon has been conducting every 2 years at the academies. A total of 747 students said they received unwanted sexual contact, up from 507 just 2 years earlier. That's a nearly 50% jump, and it also indicated that many victims are choosing not to make reports. Nearly 16% of women said they experienced unwanted sexual contact in the past year, up from 12% 2 years earlier. For men, the figure went from just under 2% to just over 2%. So we're seeing a situation now where, it's not just about these members of the military feeling more comfortable to come out and talk about their issues, but it's also being informed on what exactly that what happened to them was in fact wrong. So because of the education around this, and look, it could be as well just that there is more sexual assaults happening in the military. That is also completely possible. But I think part of this number is that people are being more informed that what happened to them was not, in fact, okay. And people are feeling more comfortable to come out and speak on these issues. Now, I also want to show you a follow-up to the clip that I showed you where Tulsi Gabbard goes a little deeper into this issue.
Republican Senator Martha McSally this week revealed during a hearing that she was raped while she was serving in the military. You talked about your experience in hearings, but you've actually served in combat zones. From your experience, how prevalent is this?
The data and the studies can't be accurate. And this is the problem, because for women, and it's even more so amongst men who have come forward, who feel like it's impossible. They can't tell their story.
And did you have people who you served with who felt that way, who
Absolutely.
confided in you?
Absolutely. People who we, as their friends, strongly urge them, you have to report this, you have to take action, if not for yourself, then for someone else, because this person will continue to perpetrate this violence and this assault on other people. But I'll tell you, one of my closest friends still refused to do it.
Still to this day.
Still to this day. She has never reported what happened to her. And it's unless you've gone through it yourself, it's hard to understand fully all of the fears and the concerns that some of my friends have shared with me that have stopped them from coming forward. The kinds of attacks, the kinds of assumptions that are made against people who do, and the kind of stigma that ends up hanging over their shoulders where, hey, maybe they were Soldier of the Year and they were great at their job and they accomplished their mission, but now all of a sudden, all of that falls away because they come forward and this is what they're known for. So yes, we have to pass legislation. We have to change our laws to make sure that this accountability is there and that this independent, transparent path towards justice exists. But it's a bigger challenge that we've got to face as a country that not only impacts the military, but it impacts our college campuses. It impacts us in the workplace, in every part of our society where it is still not a safe place to be able to come forward if you're a victim of these kinds of attacks and know that change will happen.
So I think Tulsi Gabbard highlights something here that is incredibly important to be reminded of, and that it's not just about new laws. So yes, the Military Justice Improvement Act is going to will help the situation, but it's not going to solve it. This really requires a cultural shift. And that's why something like Me Too is so important, because it educates people and has people understand that, look, it's okay to come out and speak on something that may have happened to you that you may in the past have been afraid to speak up on, because we are now trying to create this environment where it is more culturally acceptable for you to come out and speak on it. But when you come to something like the military, I mean, the military has its own culture. So there's this, there's sort of these competing cultures in a way where even if, for most of the general public, it's now more comfortable to come out and speak on sexual assault that may have happened to you, it is still different for those in the military. There is a completely different culture there. So there also needs to be a cultural shift in the military, in addition to, of course, being a cultural shift nationwide. So Tulsi Gabbard, again, her ability to speak on this as a woman and as somebody who is a veteran, this shows you why a voice like hers is so incredibly important. And look, I suggest watching this entire town hall. She came off fantastic during this entire hour, and it really made me soften up to her for the potential for maybe, Bernie, who's my number one choice, Bernie's VP, if he's looking around for somebody who has a different experience than him, a different perspective, the ability to really add something different to the conversation that he doesn't already offer. Tulsi Gabbard would be, I think, a fantastic potential VP for Bernie Sanders.